Welcome to Backpage Blues. I'm joined by the man of the moment. And if you don't know why he's the man of the moment, you will find out soon enough. I'm, of course, joined by Charlie, the Hurricane Skinner from the Mail Online. How are you?
I'm woefully underdressed, actually. Look at you. This is the finest shirt I've ever seen you in.
Oh, you're too kind. Just one of my favourites, a nice Gabici number.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, he's Conte's mate, isn't he?
I'm sure that you know why I'm referring to Charlie as the man of the moment. But if you don't know, watch this. The best thing you've ever seen.
Was that my goal?
Yeah. Why not? It was a great finish.
Yeah. I mean, the keeper was a little bit dodgy, but I think it's the shot power. Deceptive.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was me falling over.
Definitely.
Now,
you were great though. The skill was there. It's all there for all to see. You turned into Joe Cole.
No video on this channel has enjoyed the promotion that the video of me falling over has.
It was brilliant. I like the skill. The first touch was great.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what happened after that.
After it's a bit dodgy. The thing I like about it is panning around and seeing the support from the touchline.
Yeah.
Rory sort of doubling up in laughter. Look, I think the great players try and pull these things off, and sometimes, if occasionally one time out of 100 it doesn't go right, then you can't blame us.
No, it's true. Even the best sometimes cock it up.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it was a great effort, and that was a wonderful day. Thank you so much to the Chelsea pitch owners for having us down there.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll see that clip again on the channel.
Daily.
Every day for the next 5 years. So,
absolutely.
Yeah,
today we have very, very interesting and action-packed Backpage Blues for you. We're going to be talking about a couple of Brazilians that could be leaving. We're also going to be talking about Thibaut Courtois, Henrik Mkhitaryan, both Van Ginkel and Andreas Christensen, as well as Antonio Conte's backroom staff. And as always, of course, we will be finishing with a Q&A. Charlie, the only place to start is some Brazilians could be heading for pastures new.
Yeah, well, a lot was said about the spirit of the Chelsea team last year. It wasn't quite what it could be. Now, sources around Chelsea that we've heard have indicated that there's a sort of clique of Brazilian players that, while they're all decent players, have not been that conducive to an overall great team spirit.
Right.
Now, we all know who the Brazilians at the club are, and Conte, one of the first things that's identified, he's willing to kind of break that sort of little group of players up.
Okay.
Now, everyone's heard the story about, Willian and Manchester United and 60 million. Chelsea are absolutely going to refuse that bid. Conte is actually adamant.
Is it going to be a bid then? Do you think that is going to come in from United?
I'm not so sure, but if there is, I mean, one thing's for certain, Conte is definitely adamant that he doesn't want Willian to leave. One player he's willing to let go is Oscar.
It's time, isn't it? It does feel like it's a natural moment for Chelsea and Oscar to part company.
I think on form he's,
on form he's unplayable. He's just on form once every 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. Juventus have a long-standing interest in him, so I think that's going to be. We could well see the end of Oscar's Chelsea career. Okay. It goes without saying that Pato is no longer going to be with us, which is a great shame, obviously for anyone that was at Villa Park. And obviously, Diego Costa as well, who obviously while plays for Spain, although not in the Euros, is by birth a Brazilian as well, and is very much part of that gang.
Right.
It's still up in the air whether Costa will be at Chelsea next year. We've spoken lots of times about Atletico Madrid and his maybe not settling into life in England. So that's one that's still up in the air. But Willian is very, very likely to stay. Oscar's very likely to leave.
Okay, so out of all of the Brazilians at the club, because I had the fear that you may have mentioned Kennedy there as well.
No. I think Chelsea are investing in Kennedy's future. They went in big for him last summer, and I think he actually should have played more last season.
Yeah,
in fact, he's probably the youngster that impressed me the most over the course of the year. But I think
so
it's more
Oscar leaving. Oscar,
yeah, I think it's more about breaking up that clique in the dressing room, which by all accounts was quite a real kind of little division in the camp.
Right, I see. Thibaut Courtois, there's some news on him.
Yeah, now his future again is one that we've talked about pretty much since his return from injury around Christmas time. He said this week when he's with Belgium that he's 100% certain to stay at Chelsea.
That's great news, isn't it? Because Chelsea, although we have a bit of a strained relationship at times with Thibaut Courtois, there is no doubt that he is an exceptional goalkeeper.
Absolutely no doubt.
One of, I'm being quite hostile to him here, but he's certainly in the top 10 goalkeepers in the world.
Yeah, I don't think that's in question at all. Whether him saying that means it's 100% certain, we'll see. But he's certainly said a lot worse in the past. So whether he's kind of met Conte and kind of weighing up his options and thinks it's probably better to kind of
sit this one season out of Europe out and see how it goes after that.
Exactly. I mean, look, no one knows what's going to happen with Chelsea next year. So it's going to be an interesting one. One player that might leave is Begovic. You know, he's kind of sick of not really playing.
Yes.
Which
that makes sense, I think, because he is probably a first-team player. Not at Chelsea, but he's a Premier League goalkeeper.
Yeah, for someone, certainly. So he might leave, in which case, you know, obviously Courtois has got to stay. I wouldn't want to see a position where Begovic is Chelsea's first choice keeper next year. I think if Courtois was going to leave, he'd have to make a real statement signing and get a really, really good keeper in someone.
And they just aren't out there either. That's the problem. That's why it's so difficult.
I mean, to be honest, the two that I'd go for would be the English ones, Foster and Butland.
Yeah.
But I think all signs point to the minute at Courtois staying.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good news as well. This is one I'm very excited about. I think he's been wonderful for Dortmund. I'm of course talking about Henrik Mkhitaryan.
Yeah.
Is there any mileage here?
Well, look. Now, before anyone gets too excited, this is not like a done deal in the slightest. It's just a little bit of news that we had coming through this week that he's been offered a new contract at Dortmund and he's not taken that option. Now, his contract's not up, but it's getting to that stage where, you know, Dortmund really, really sort of want to keep hold of him.
Yeah.
And Chelsea are very much, you know, in a front-running group with teams like Arsenal and Liverpool for his signature. I think he wants to move to the Premier League as all top players. Well, maybe not all top players, but all
lots of players.
Lots of players do for the money and the prestige and the exposure. And we all know Dortmund have a hell of a time keeping on to their sort of top players. In fact, they never do.
Yeah. It would be terrible for them as a club though, because they've just lost Mats Hummels, haven't they? Mats Hummels has gone to Bayern.
They have, but you know, Dortmund plan for this. Dortmund know this is going to happen. Dortmund know, and unless something drastically changes at that club, which is such a, you know, almost more so than any other side in Europe, such a sort of organic club in the way that it produces players.
Yeah.
They know that those top players are going to be picked off, and they plan for that.
That's it.
They're already bringing more players into the team.
But it wouldn't make the life of Thomas Tuchel any easier, though, would it?
No, of course not. No, I mean, look, he's one of Dortmund's best players, and that's why he's being spoken about in these terms. But Dortmund are a selling club. We know this. The only player that the only club that you can't buy players from in Germany is Bayern Munich. Yeah. Because they completely stand alone in the Bundesliga.
Right.
But in terms of Chelsea, look, it's not one that's going to happen in the next few weeks or anything. But Chelsea's interest is very, very solid. And he's a player that could well be on the move this summer.
Would be such a good acquisition. It's great that we're even being linked to players of this calibre. Because, you know, I saw the other day, he played in a friendly against Guatemala. He was involved in so many goals.
Was he?
Yeah, I think he scored 3 and he was involved in like 6 out of the 7 or something.
Armenia versus Guatemala?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed that one.
Yeah, no, it happened. And he looked brilliant.
Good.
So I just think, you know, being linked with players like this, bearing in mind we're not in Europe, I think it's just a statement of intent. I think it's good.
Yeah, absolutely, you know, and Chelsea need to be building for the future. Look, if Chelsea spend a second season out of Europe, I think that would be an absolute disaster. They need to...
Top 4 next year.
Yeah, hopefully.
And Mkhitaryan would definitely help with that.
100%, especially players like Oscar leave. You know, it's going to be a good replacement. Yeah.
This is very interesting. Andreas Christensen, Marco van Ginkel.
Yeah. Now Van Ginkel was on loan at PSV for the second half of the season. Played very, very well as they sneaked in front of Ajax to claim the Dutch title. His future is a little bit up in the air because Conte wants to see what he can do. PSV very, very interested in keeping him permanently, which I think Chelsea are open to, but they also obviously hold the rights to a good player. Now, I think Chelsea are aware that at Stoke, he didn't really pull up any trees, so they're kind of unsure about his suitability to the Premier League. But Conte wants to have a look at him. He's open to the idea of Van Ginkel being in the squad next season, but were it not to work out, PSV are absolutely ready to jump in with a, you know, probably a £10 million bid.
That'd be good money.
Yeah, it would, yeah.
And what about Christensen?
Christensen has been one of Europe's most impressive defenders. You know, it seems bizarre we're talking about him in these terms, and he's actually on Chelsea's books, whereas Chelsea's defence...
And our back line was a shambles.
Well, exactly. And I think Mönchengladbach absolutely desperate to buy Christensen. Again, Conte's going to be having a look at him. As a fan, I want to see Christensen in the Chelsea squad next year.
Yeah.
There's 3 options. You know, he comes back to Chelsea and fights for his place. he goes on loan for another season, which I think is probably the most likely, on loan back to Mönchengladbach. Or if Conte decides really doesn't fancy him, then Mönchengladbach will be paying like decent money to buy him permanently.
Okay.
But same's true of both of them. Van Ginkel and Christensen. Conte's waiting to see these players in action, and then which obviously means he'll be at the Euros and then pre-season, and then
but
sort of
somebody
decide
like
what to do with
Christensen,
him.
for things to be going in the direction that we want at Chelsea Football Club, somebody like Christensen really does need to be given an opportunity in the first team, don't they? At least alongside the first team manager, he needs to be in and around the club.
As I said, as I just said, I think Christensen and Nathan Ake actually are the two players we've got on loan that I really want to see in the squad next year. Whether that happens, I'm not so sure, but
I see.
I agree.
Conte's backroom staff.
Yeah, now this is one that's interesting, and it's still not actually confirmed who he will be bringing over. Obviously, we had a lot of Mourinho's guys leave, and Rui Faria and all those boys, those guys are moving to Manchester United, obviously. But Conte's current setup at Italy, they look like they're all going to be coming over.
Didn't the Italian team? Do you see the photo of the Italian team today?
Oh, suited and booted.
They look so good, didn't they? So
did
stylish.
Look good. I hope Chelsea's squad photos like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Yokohama and all that. I want to see nice.
Yeah, just nice suits, tailored suits from Savile Row.
I like
Lovely.
it. I like it. Yeah, you fit in, wouldn't you, mate? So look, you'll forgive me for reading off the card because it's just Italian physios and whatever. But Alesso and Carrera, they go with him everywhere, so they'll definitely be coming. His brother is a technical analyst, Gianluca Conte, and Sandriani and Batelli will also probably be coming. So those are kind of 5 Italians that work with the national team at the minute, and they're more or less they're all going to be coming over to Chelsea.
Okay.
Steve Holland is still going to be involved. He's very much very much a club man. And obviously, while he didn't play for Chelsea, he's been there a long time, and the hierarchy kind of trusts him. Emanalo will still be there. People like Eddie Newton, Paulo Ferreira, Jody Morris in the youth team, Joe Edwards in the youth team. They're all going to be staying, so it's going to retain a real kind of home flavour as well. But obviously, Conte will get. It actually held the deal up for quite a while. Conte
making
kind of
sure that the backroom staff are coming in.
Exactly.
Do you know what? This is a very interesting one, actually. And I could do with your help on this as well. I'm going to ask Charlie, now we'll get his take. But definitely let us know what you think in the comments below. The Italian national team are inextricably linked now to Chelsea Football Club.
Yeah.
What's better for Chelsea? Do we want the Italian national team to do very well, stay in the tournament for longer, therefore, their staff will be coming into Chelsea with confidence, but they'll be coming in late? Or do we want them to drop out in the group stages, get Conte focusing on Chelsea, new start? What's better for Chelsea Football Club here?
Better for Chelsea. I mean,
it's tricky, isn't it?
It is tricky. It is a tricky one. I reckon it would get confidence off to a flyer if Italy were to go on and win the Euros. If Italy were to lose every game,
not going to manage that because England are going to
win
obviously.
It.
Well, okay,
fine.
They'll be beaten finalists.
Get to the final and lose on penalties. Fair enough. If Italy were to lose every game in shambolic fashion and go out early, then already questions are being asked. You're on the back foot.
Do you know what I just remembered here? I remember Van Gaal went into Manchester United off the back of a very good World Cup in 2014.
Yeah, with quite a poor
Van Persie played very well in that Dutch side, and I remember thinking, this isn't good news. This is really bad. Van Gaal linking up with Van Persie. They've just had a very good World Cup. Momentum.
And ultimately, it means nothing. It really doesn't mean much. I think once they work with the players, once you've had a couple of pre-season games, I think anything with the Euros is going to be forgotten. But look, I would like to see Italy do well, and I'll be interested to see how they play and how they line up. I don't think it's a vintage Italy side by any means. In fact, I think it's probably the worst. If you look at the squad, it's probably the worst Italy team in our lifetimes in a tournament. The strikers. Their main striker is Graziano Pelle, who can't get in the Southampton team half the time.
Fantastic hair.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But in terms of actually scoring goals, it's sort of, which is very much secondary, obviously.
To great hair.
Two is Barnett, but he's not quite there.
Okay. I suppose we should get into the Q&A. Right, our first question is from Chelsea Transfer Talk. Thank you very much for your question. Charlie, he wants to know if you had a choice, Lukaku or Morata.
Two very different options. I think it would depend on whether Costa left. If Costa left, I think Lukaku. If Costa stayed, I think Morata. Morata would be less than half the price of Lukaku. I want Costa to stay, so I'm going to say Morata.
Morata. Very interesting. I think I'd agree with you. The next question is from the Football Republic, and they have asked, which team are you most worried about going into next season?
Ooh, I almost don't want to say because I'm going to get dug out something rotten.
Go on.
I am nervous to see what Jose Mourinho does with Manchester United.
Terrifying, isn't it? Do you think they could really get off to a flyer then?
Yeah, I do. If they buy right and the players there buy into what he wants to do, then we all know that's an unbeatable combination. Jose Mourinho and a group of talented players who buy into his ideals. Yeah. We know firsthand that works. So it's going to be interesting to see. There's no matter what he says, there's going to be no team he wants to beat more than Chelsea. Possibly, with the possible exception of Manchester City, another kind of very kind of interesting prospect. Team, But I'm just because it's all a bit fresh in the memory. I think Manchester United with Jose Mourinho will have the potential to make Chelsea look rather silly. Yeah,
it is worrying, isn't it? I suppose you're right. Wherever a club have bought into his principles, it's been a match made in heaven.
Well, and that's no guaranteed thing. I'm not. I suppose
even at Real Madrid, I mean, I don't think that period of his career is one that he looks back on particularly fondly. No. But he did win the league against the best ever club team, arguably the best ever club team,
with a record number of goals, number of points, all the rest of it.
It could work, couldn't it, for United?
Never mind, day.
Yeah, not good. Not good at all. And our last question is from Rima Babakan. It is from Rima. Thank you very much.
Well done, Rima.
She has asked, which Chelsea player do you think will shine at the Euros?
Ooh. I'm going to cheat a bit, and I'm going to say Conte, because he's the one I'm looking forward to seeing the most.
Right. So you think Italy will have a good tournament?
It's just the one I'm looking forward to seeing the most, as I said before. Gary Cahill as well. I think he's actually England's most solid defender. I think Smalling's a very good player, but do
you know who I think is going to set it on fire? I think you've just seen enough towards the end of the season. I think he really did get it right, and it's his time to shine. The Spain team, they're going for their hat-trick. They're obviously the holders, but the older lads, they're not there anymore. So it's over to, the baton has been passed, and it's time for Cesc Fabregas to shine.
I think that's a great shout.
And I think he's up to it. I think he's going to have a really big tournament.
That's a really great shout. Yeah. I think, he played very well against, admittedly, South Korea.
Scored a good goal. He ran fast.
Yeah, I know. Faster than I've ever seen.
Ran fast. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that's a good shout as well. I think Spain, no one's really been talking about Spain. They've always sort of talking about France and Germany. Yeah. We did a feature at the Mail on Wednesday about the alternative Spain squad, which is basically a squad of players that Spain left at home.
Diego Costa.
And it's just incredible. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Zola,
I know,
Saul, Isco.
We're all...
It's just amazing.
I thought that, actually. I'm very disappointed that Danny Drinkwater didn't make it into the England team. Right, yeah. I felt like it should be a meritocracy, and I think that he deserves to be there.
Definitely.
But I just, my mate said it to me, my mate's Spanish, he sort of went, what are you talking about, mate? We didn't take matter. Yeah. We didn't take matter. What is your what's your issue? We're English people sort of crying about Danny Drinkwater not going. And you look like Germany haven't taken Royce.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different kettle of fish, yeah.
So right, that I suppose concludes it. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and if you're not subscribed, please do it right now. Get your questions in over Twitter or below, and we could be answering yours next week. Go on, you Blues. Welcome to the Chelsea Fans Channel. Now, I am buzzing. The Euros are nearly upon us, and we all know who's going to win. It's obviously going to be England.
Rory, let's not jump ahead of ourselves here. We've got some major competition coming.